what everyone is really keen to find out at the moment is what are going to be the impacts of a second Donald Trump presidency in the United States? He's promised some pretty significant tariff increases, 60% on Chinese goods going into the US. Now, obviously, that's a lot more than the around 20% that we currently see. What tools does China have to deal with this?
And particularly if you look back 2024, export has been an important lifting factor for China economic performance. So if you're facing the new rounds of the tariff escalation, of course, it will impose a lot of pressure, particularly China export to the U.S., right? That like we saw in 2018 and then 2019, and this time the tariff increase might be doubled actually compared to last time. So of course, this is a very important risk we need to watch out. And on the other side, if export losing momentum, what China will react. Of course, there's several directions we also need to watch out. One is that whether CNY will devalue, like we saw in 2018 and 2019, to partially offset the tariff impact. And particularly in China's case, what measures China can take to mitigate actually the tariff hit on the export to the U.S. But probably more importantly, what measure China will take to expand the exports in the non-U.S. market. So this is on the export side.
2024 has been a fairly gloomy year. It's been one characterized, at least in the second half of the year, by challenges and by pretty poor sentiment on many fronts. What do you think are the prospects for turning things around and having a bit more of an optimistic year in 2025?
In the corporate sector, as we argue that more the balanced or the equal treatment between SOE and non-SOE, and particularly also the more balanced policy support across different industries. The government spent a lot of efforts to promote the manufacturing upgrade, but in the modern economy, actually, the service sector innovation is equally important. So we highly recommend actually the government also have delivered a balanced support between the manufacturing and the service upgrades. For household, consumer confidence has been on the soft side, and that's in part because of the employment expectation. It's not actually because Chinese does not have the job opportunity, but there's a mismatch, the mismatch between the job being offered and what the job you want. I would say that the policy redirection, more balanced support between investment and consumption, more balanced support between manufacturing and service industry, these probably the most important policy change. And that the good news is that some of them probably doesn't cost too much money. It's more about the policy directional change.
You've mentioned earlier that income growth and the prospect of wage growth is going to be really key to turning things around. And of course, you've also mentioned the mismatch between the manufacturing sector and the service sector. Now, the service sector, of course, is a massive employer here in China. How do we go about, really injecting some fuel into the Chinese economy by way of income growth?
Particularly 2010 to 2020, this is the decade actually we see the rebound in the consumption as percentage GDP, and also rebound in household income as a percentage GDP. That also coincides with the rapid growth in the service industry. Service actually is only the sector to create new jobs. So that was 10 years, which is probably serves as a good example. This 10 years, we see actually consumption grow very strong, and also everybody talk about consumption upgrade, right? So I think that if you do the comparison in the last 2 or 3 years, actually the uneven treatment between manufacturing and the service sector, we see actually that's an important reason for the current situation. So that is actually where we should aim to change through this particularly this policy round. We talk about supporting consumption and boosting domestic demand.